So they gave me 80 months in the feds. I had cases out of Lynn. I had cases out of Framingham. I had to do those counties first until the feds came and picked me up.
Ain't got a moment. When they see you down, just know they love it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bounce Back Podcast. I'm your host, B. Luke. I got a special guest with me today. Why don't you tell the people your name, where you're from, and a little bit about why you decided to hop on YouTube.
My name's Kevin. I'm from Lynn, Mass. My main reason for, getting into YouTube was when I was released from my last sentence, I came across the prison YouTube stuff. I wasn't really following much. I just had heard, it was kind of just in my feed. So the videos were just popping up for whatever reason. And so I'm hearing it in the background. And I don't know what it was, maybe some inconsistencies with someone's story. I don't even remember what the exact thing was that kind of started me on this whole thing. But, it was I felt like it was being portrayed, in one way only, which is straight savage and, only killers and
Right.
Every place is the worst place, which is, might be some people's experience. I'm not taking that away from anybody. My experience really wasn't like that. Of course you're gonna see things, violence and things like that, but the majority of it was just bidden, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, kind of wanted to change the narrative a little bit to there's not a certain demographic that goes to prison. There's not a certain type of street person or it's anyone. Anybody can mess up and, have to go do some time, and anyone can end up in the USP or, go upstate to the Shirley Max or DDU. It's just, there's really no specific guidelines to follow or anything. It's just shit happens to certain people, good people, bad people. Yep. And, I just kind of wanted to put more of the real shit out there that I felt wasn't being talked about, which is, it's for the most part, uneventful.
Right.
You're bidding, you're sitting
Monotony,
around.
same thing every day, all that
Right,
stuff for sure.
right. And that was it, you know what I mean? Never really big on hyping things up, overhyping. Yeah. I like to hear people's actual stories without all the extra shit, because then you get to really know who the person is you're dealing with, and you get to decide whether or not you want to follow them if they got their own thing going on, whatever. But that was a long ass answer for your question, but that was really what got me interested. Now I'm looking for, prison YouTube channels to see if this was the actual narrative, or if it was individually, if it changed up, it sounds more realistic from certain people, or if everyone's just hyping it up for views. I don't know, you know what I mean? So that was back in 2019 though, that I first stumbled across the prison content on YouTube.
Why don't you just tell the people the name of your channel and where they can find it, how they can find it?
So the channel's Code of Silence TV, code with a K, so that's KODE. The YouTube channel is up. There's not many videos added to it just yet. I just uploaded one maybe a month or so ago to let people know that we're coming over from Lockdown 23-1. And they're subbing. I felt bad because, I don't got any content, just waiting to push out. So
talk about that experience, having that interview with Lockdown 23-1. That's like the OG in the genre.
I know,
right?
What
I mean? So
yeah, that was major, man. I reached out to him in 2021. And it was right around the time, like I told you, I was kind of like, man, I feel like everyone's capping these days, man, which, obviously looking back, you can't really say who went through what, you know what I mean? But sometimes you just know. People, they're forcing it, you know what I'm saying? So when I reached out, I'm just like, yo, man, I think people are overhyping shit too much and trying to get, trying to impress people or scare, get people all like, wow, he must have made it through the worst of the worst. And again, who cares, right? But I'm just like, I know this isn't all that, people got to talk about. So that's when I reached out to Josh. He didn't reach back though for 3 years, after COVID was over. And it was random, midnight texts. You still trying to run it? And we finally linked up and was able to do the first episode. It kind of dragged because, as you can see, I'm long-winded with my answers. So it ended up being, I think we still have a third episode we had to do, but he's been busy with some personal stuff. Yeah.
Let's just rewind a little bit. Lynn, Massachusetts.
Right.
Break that down. Break down the city of Lynn for people who may not know. I see you got the Sin City Cycles.
Yeah, yeah.
The,
Had the
the
rep
tank. Yep.
for Greg. Yeah. I mean, growing up, it was like any other city. You know, it's a small city, but you know, we played sports, baseball, little league, played basketball for my school, plenty of parks. I mean, especially back in the late '80s, early '90s when I'm coming up, it was like a real family-oriented area, you know, community. Everybody kind of knew each other in their neighborhoods and stuff like that. It wasn't until I moved to Westland from Eastland that I had started getting into my own personal struggles with like school and things like that. Looking back, I think it was more or less, I was just young, being thrown into a whole new place. You know, all my friends feels like they're on the other side of the world now. You know, I'm in second grade and I don't know anybody. So my first day of school, my new school, I got into a fight with the kid ended up being my best friend later on, but
That's how it goes.
right, I know, right? I was thinking of that the other day, right? Not to brag, but he got the worst end of it, and then we became close friends after that. But bringing it back to the city of Lynn, I would say, you know, one of the most diverse areas that I've been to. You know, you got a big white, black, Spanish, and Asian community all mixed in, and you know, they're still coming. A lot has changed since I was a kid. I would say it's more. The demographics have shifted, and you know, a lot of people have moved out to greener pastures because Lynn was kind of struggling for some years. There was no money. People weren't trying to fix anything, and it was just a mess. No one wanted to be there.
Right.
It was known for drugs. It was known for crime and bullshit. And they're just now starting to, you know, they're building condos just like every other city around Boston. And they are cleaning things up a little bit. So I would encourage people to check it out if you haven't, especially if you're from the Boston area. It's crazy. For a small city, there's a real rich, deep-rooted history. You know, a lot of people might not know Frederick Douglass lived there for a little while. Babe Ruth played for his last game for the Red Sox. He hit his last home run out of Barry Park. That's right near my house. Wow. So that was a big deal to me when I've read that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, just, you know, a lot of things have happened over the years because it's one of the older cities around, right? Yeah, I had a great time as a kid growing up. It wasn't like, you know, living in Compton or anything like that. But of course, you're gonna run into shit, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I always, even just when I started getting locked up in DYS, even before things started to get like real big, Lynn always had like a gang culture too.
Yeah.
Was that something that was your experience growing up out there?
Well, me personally, no. So my brother was into that, like early on. I would say 11, 12 years old. He started running around with some older kids that were into the gangs and shit. But, you know, I more or less was cool with people from, you know, Crips, Bloods, bikers, like, because the city, like I said, is so small. You grow up with these people and, you know, they all take their own paths in life. So, yeah, you get to know people from all walks of life that you actually, you know, might have lived right around the corner from you.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny because in the comments on my first video, which I don't recommend anyone ever read their comments if they're not thick-skinned, by the way, because people are just talking just to talk. But I was going through some of them saying, yeah, I've been through Lynn. Crazy how we, you know, we live such different lives from such similar, you know, live so close together. Like basically saying he went to school and, you know, went on to college and lived that type of life where, and you can.
Yeah,
you can live both ways in any city, but
yeah, same in Cambridge, man.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, perfect example, right? Because people think Cambridge is just a school
Harvard
city,
and MIT,
right? Colleges and hospitals and things like that. But it's obviously you got pockets everywhere you go.
Right.
Not that I'm advertising that, and not that even matters.
Right.
But I just encourage people to see things for themselves.
Yeah.
Don't go off of my word even.
Right.
You know, you want to see how something is for you, go check it out.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And that's for anything, man. So.
Absolutely. So talk about the home dynamic. I know you said you had a brother. I mean, any other siblings? Did you come from a 2-parent home? And you know what I mean? What's going on at home?
Yeah. So when I was a kid, both my parents were together. They weren't married, but they were together. I'd say right around the time we were moving from east to west, my father and mother were going through something. He moved to Florida, so it was just me, my mother, and my older brother. He was 2 years my senior. He's passed on now. He passed away
sorry to
before
hear
I,
that.
thanks, man. But right before I wrapped up this last sentence, it was 90 days to my wrap up, and he overdosed on some perks or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I grew up with my brother for the most part until he started getting into his shit and going to DYS, and wasn't long after that we were both committed. You know, by the time I was 13, he was 15. He was already doing a 5-year DYS bid, and I just started my DYS stuff.
I know it's probably not the easiest thing to talk about, but like, what is it like? What's going through your mind when you're locked up and having to hear that news about your brother? How does one deal with that? That's pretty tough.
Yeah, you really don't deal with it, and well, I didn't. You know what I'm saying? In jail, only because you're in bid mode already. I had been down over 5 years, so this was primary right now. I got to get through this. I had a few months to wrap up, and obviously I'm a mess, right? You just start crying out of nowhere, just thinking about like you're never gonna see your brother again and things like that. But to be honest, even now I'm home, it still hasn't really sunk in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've been home over 5 years now, and it's still like it almost feels like he's just in jail or something. He's doing a bid, because we were always like trying to catch each other on the street.
And
so
then, one's in, the other one's out. Yeah, me and my
Right.
brother was similar with especially during the juvenile time. So you had mentioned you got in a fight second grade. Is that something that like you had many encounters in school? Are you getting in a lot of trouble?
Yeah, man, that was like the beginning of like all of my stuff, because I wasn't as bad as kids and teachers might have thought, but because they weren't used to that type of behavior, I was standing out like a sore thumb.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it was, if anyone knows the area, it's Pine Hill, and the name sounds like nice neighborhood, right? And it is. It's nice homes. People, everyone's driving minivans and shit. I remember when we first moved up there, we had like my father had a Z28. I'm like, we got to get a minivan. You know what I mean? To blend in with these kids are all rich. They got swimming pools and minivans and shit. We're poor. But that was the type of neighborhood. So I probably felt like I was an outsider right away, and just kind of felt like the only way I knew how to express myself was with, lashing out and acting out. So, and then on top of that, now the kids know me for, this kid likes to fight, or he don't care if he gets in trouble. So when they blended they used the downstairs, like the left wing of the school, for bilingual kids that were just coming in and trying to learn how to speak English so they could move on through the school system. So we were bumping heads because, it turned into like a little race thing, where the kids that had been there are looking at these Spanish kids like, this is our shit, and now they, recess, they're trying to take the basketball, and they don't want to play basketball with the white kids and the black kids, so they're doing their own, and it just caused conflict between the kids. So that was one of the things that I was kind of signed up for with the other kids who didn't really have much experience with fighting. I had an older brother, so he used to beat my ass, and it really was no big deal to hit another kid back then, So I was pushed into a lot more than I was actually looking for. As far as trouble goes, I lived in the principal's office. The teachers just zero tolerance. Anything I did to disrupt or whatever, go right down. And, suspensions and all that followed. By 4th grade, I had got, they wanted to expel me for bringing a knife in, because the Spanish shit, we're getting jumped now. Like these kids are not having it. And obviously, they're gonna come back with whenever they can catch you. So I'm walking home by myself, because now I live down the hill. I moved like 2 years later. Yeah. We lived down the hill, and these kids lived on my street, closer to me in my area. So they're following me home and shit. So it was starting to get like, for a 3rd, 4th grade kid, I'm feeling like I'm in gangland now. You know what I mean? And I gotta turn it up. So I took my brother's knife to school and got told on by a friend of mine, and almost got expelled.
I think your father, like, moving away and your mom being a singer, you think that played a role in kind of
Sure.
all that?
Yeah, you know, you don't know at the time, obviously, but, you know, in retrospect, absolutely. You go from having both parents where everything's normal, as far as you know, at home, and then all of a sudden, you know, your household's cut short by a member and you don't really understand why, because they don't have to explain nothing. Parents didn't explain anything to kids
Right.
back then anyways.
Yeah,
like,
fair to say.
So
This is just what it is.
mind your business. It's not, right, it's not your concern. So we just knew that our father was gone. My brother really didn't give two shits either way, because they didn't really get along at all. So
What about your mother? Did you notice a difference in her? When
Yeah.
I mean, some people are better off when, you know, I don't know the, you know, exact dynamic, but
well, at
take a little
first,
left.
me and my brother were happy, right? Because we're getting away with more now.
the
Mom has
discipline.
to work.
Yeah.
We're home. We got time home alone now to do whatever we're gonna do. And so that was like cool, where we had a little bit more freedom. But, you know, my mother probably had her hands full. She was younger. She had my brother when she was like 19, and then me 2 years later. So she was a young mom to begin with. And she doesn't really have any worldly skills. She doesn't have financial literacy and things that she needs. She doesn't understand credit and amortization rates and things like that. So yeah, she was struggling. And that led her to drinking and whatever drugs that she was getting into. But I know for sure she was, you know, back then, kids' parents went to bars. You know what I mean? My parents lived at the bar. I knew the phone number if I needed to get in touch with them. And that's kind of how it was. But yeah, I could definitely see a change in all of us. You know what I mean? My brother was wilding like full force, because there's no one to really reprimand him now. And I started getting into my stuff, and yeah, my mother was just partying, doing her. So it probably, all these things together, I'm sure, added to.
Absolutely. At what age do you start getting in trouble with the law?
11.
11 years old. So what's an 11-year-old doing, or alleged, whatever? I mean, it's so long ago. What's an 11-year-old doing to be getting arrested? That's pretty young.
Spray painting.
Graffiti?
Yeah, we were.
Were you good?
No, I
at
was-
11.
I was actually fixing the kid that we were rollerblading. We had some cans of paint from the night before. It was like the day after Halloween. So we hid some cans of paint over behind the school, and we went back the next day and retrieved them. And he just started doing whatever he was on the wall, but it was wrong. So I'm just like, man, give me that. And as I'm doing it, there's a city council guy jogging by, you know, for his morning jog, and he runs home and calls the cops on us that this kid's down there spraying on the school. And we were still there by the time they rolled up. So two of us get away, me and the kid that I was helping spray. We booted. The other kid just froze. So he gets caught. I make it all the way to my neighborhood, and I'm like walking, still got my rollerblades on. I'm like walking up the side of this big ass hill, and I see the cop car rolling down. And they just stop, get in. I see in the back seat, it's my boy. So he's already brought the cops to all of our houses. You know what I mean? Another one that just, yeah, man. The signs were there early, right? I knew that I was not good at crime from early on. I was getting told on right off the gate. So, no, but yeah, that was, we originally just had to clean it off. The cops told us, you know, you're so young, we're not gonna do anything as far as charging you criminally. No one got hurt.
Right.
Just make sure you clean it off. You're all set. And we went and we cleaned it up. Like 2 weeks later, I get a summons in the mail. So they ended up pressing charges after all. And we ended up with probation for it. So that was the beginning.
What's your mom's reaction to all of this?
Yeah, she was bugging, man. She just, you know, I'm getting slapped around in front of the cops because you couldn't get in trouble back then. You know, shit was different back then.
My mom did the same thing to me in the Somerville police station. It slapped me.
Shit was different, but yeah, you know, it just
It happens.
fucking retard. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
You
so
know I mean?
what comes of it? You get summons to court. You end up getting put on probation for that, community service.
Probation, and that probation is what. Yeah, I'm a kid. I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna get suspended. That's what happens to kids, right? Not all kids, but me. I know for sure, and they knew it too. So it was a safe bet. I feel like I was a sure sure gonna fill up a bed in DYS for them if they needed it or whatever. But
And
yeah,
when does that eventually happen?
right away. So it was like I get probation for this tagging, and then I get suspended from school for coming in late behind these kids who were smoking weed, and the lady at the desk smelt it on them. They thought we were all together, so they called the police to the school to search our lockers and everything, and I ended up getting suspended for suspected drug use. And I wasn't smoking with these kids, but what are you gonna do, right? So they didn't find anything on me or in my locker or anything, but they still suspended me for a few days, and that was my first violation. So
But, I mean, what's your mindset like at this time, especially when you weren't involved with that? You know what I mean? What's going through your mind?
I was bugging. Like I have never been locked up. I only know, from talking to my brother what it's like and visiting him. Right. And I know I don't want to go. You know what I mean? I have a full life as a kid. I got plenty of friends. I'm loving life right now.
Right.
So being locked up was not even a thought. But yeah, I was scared when my lawyer called me the night before I had to go in for the violation, and he's like, "Listen, there's a good chance you get committed, and
they're gonna hold you
because this is all happening too close together now, so they're sick of you, right? Pretty much. But we'll see what happens, basically. So I really didn't let that register. I should have told my parents what my lawyer had told me, because I'm thinking like, all right, go from the courthouse to my boy Tyler's house, who lives over in East Lynn. Got my skateboard downstairs. I'm ready to go. It's Friday.
Right.
I got some money in my pocket. Had my night planned out, but when the judge said committed and hit the gavel, I'm like, all right, so I'll check in whenever, bro. I'm about to walk out, and the court officer grabbed me like, hey, you want to give anything to your parents before I take you downstairs?
Damn.
I'm like, what? The fuck you mean downstairs? What's going on? He's like, they just committed you, man. You're going to do some time. Yeah, so I just lost it. Damn. What the fuck? What does that even mean?
Right.
So I did 3 to 5 months for getting committed.
So where's the first stop they take you to?
My very first was actually, to bring it back, before I got committed, I did do like a quick 4 or 5 day timeout in MDU, the old Roslindale.
Yep.
And then after that, they sent me to, what was it, Casa, I think was my first stop, Casa in Quincy. From there, I went to Alliance House in Stoneham.
Like, what's going through your mind as all this going on? You're adjusting, adapting? Is it not as bad as you thought it was gonna be? Is it worse than you thought it would be? What's the toughest thing to do? I mean, talk about that.
The kids were a lot bigger than I thought they would be. They weren't kids. There were some big ass kids in there. You just don't know what to expect. So I was scared just because I didn't know how this place runs.
Unknown, not really.
You know what I mean?
Particular
I'm used to
people.
school, and like that's my world.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this is foreign to me, so you just don't know what to expect. By the time I got there, it wasn't crazy or anything, but yeah, this fight's just random over nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know how it is. Those kids just pop off just because they're bored.
Yep.
So that shit was like, all right, me being all by myself. I got nobody from my hometown or anything. This is gonna be probably, and I'm white, not many white kids around back then, so.
Are people like asking you where you from and all that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Lynn, like what is that?
Right,
Lynn don't get it. Lynn ain't, it was all that shit.
Okay. What about the staff on the kids there, man? You see any like staff kind of overly? Because that was like one of the first things I noticed was, okay, yeah, they fight, but then it's like, damn, dude got beat up worse by
the staff breaking them up, right? Yeah. Oh, you run. That was my first experience with, seeing how these people take their authority to another level.
Yeah.
And then you learn later on that the COs they go even worse because now they're dealing with grown men. But yeah, there was some real bad staff they would go out of their way to lift dudes as high as they can, slam them and yoke them up, like just folding dudes up because they got some sort of weird rush out of that shit. Right. You could tell they liked it too much. Some of them was juiced out. And, man, there was some weirdos in there, but there was some cool staff too. That would
like anywhere you go.
Anywhere you go, right.
Any group of people anyway. It's not even just CEO, you know, plumbers, man. You're gonna have good dudes and bad dudes.
Right.
You know, that's how I look at it.
Life, period. Yeah,
so
you're right.
that 3 to 5, like what's that 3 to 5 months, what's that whole experience like? Did you stay out of trouble for the most part?
Yeah, I breezed right through that
Yeah.
3 to 5 months. I didn't want to do the program. I remember I was struggling with that because it was like, may I step in? May I step out? May I use the bat?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was kind of like too cool for that at
Right.
first. And then when they brought me into the room, like to send me back to secure treatment or whatever, it was like, you know, this is it. You know, you're gonna go start over, go back to Central or whatever, or you just wrap this up and go home, man. Like it's really that. It's however hard you make it. So
Yeah.
you're gonna be out in 3 months if you do this,
Right.
or you can stretch it and do 6 months or whatever. It's on you. So once they talked some sense into me, and I just wanted to go home so bad. Like I had my little girlfriend waiting, home passes and stuff that you could work towards. So I'm like, let me just play the game, see if I can make it through. So I kind of switched it from like, damn, I have to get through this. They're forcing it on me to, let me see if I can even make it. You know what I mean? So it ended up working out.
So you get out, you're still committed. Do you end up violating that and going back to DYS?
Yeah, so my parents thought that they got back together. My father had come back in the picture through all these years that have passed. But so they were back together. They were wanting to move to New Hampshire to get, my brother's coming up on his release date soon. So they wanted us to be out of Lynn. And they moved to Dover, New Hampshire while I was still in my program. So I was released to Dover. They transferred all my stuff out to New Hampshire. And that was cool because there's no other kids on probation or anything really out there. He had like 5, kids.
Right.
And he didn't want to deal with me because I was from out of state. He's just like, just don't get arrested pretty much.
Yeah.
And you're all set. But I ended up getting expelled from high school like a year or 2 later for selling this kid a bag of weed. And he told, when he got caught. And we ended up back in Lynn.
And this
after
was,
that.
you were going to high school in New Hampshire?
In Dover, yeah, Dover High
Okay.
School, yeah, it was a nice.
So just talk about that experience being from Mass. I mean, New Hampshire's right there, but it's still a little different. I mean,
Yeah, it was about an hour away. So when you don't drive, when you're a kid, I tried to walk home one weekend. Yeah, I made it almost halfway. That was a whole day of walking in the woods, but yeah, it's farther. Oh my God, man. Yeah, I tried to make it home. I hated it up there because everything's so far apart. I did end up linking up with, of course, some of the worst kids in school. They drink and smoke and skip school, so they were right up my league. And one of them lived right behind me, so it was perfect. But it was just dead, man. Like I'm used to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, where partying, hanging with my friends. I'm sleeping out, and I can't do that up here. So New Hampshire was torturous. It was probably the best thing for me, though.
right. Was it the boredom?
Yeah.
I mean, how did you deal with the boredom? What kind of things?
I smoked a lot of weed, man. A lot of weed, dirt weed at that. So
Right.
I'm in my room just rolling up, listening to music. And my boy, thank God, his parents were like, drop the ball. I don't want to talk shit, but they just left him out there. So he came and lived with us
Okay.
for a few years. And that was cool. At least
least
I
you
had
had-
someone from home to keep me company. Well, you know,
And your brother was still not
still
out
doing
at
his
the
bid,
time?
yeah.
Okay, so
Well, he didn't ever get out, so we kept waiting, we're fighting to get him out. He ended up catching some cases on staff members in DYS, so they charged him and then moved him over to Nashua Street.
Okay.
And
Was
then
it
from
because
there-
of his age at the time? Was it because I know they hold you till you're 18, but at that time, because that was my experience too. When I was committed, I caught a case at 17. That was an adult case. Was he 17? Is that why they charged him as an adult, or was it just because?
Yeah, he was either I don't know if it was it was so many different things for real. It was like we were going mental for real, thinking this dude already lost his mind or something because he just keeps getting into trouble. But I don't know if it was what the exact thing was. Another resident or the staff that he had like broken someone's cheekbone or something. So he must have been 16, 17 for them to want to charge him. But from there, he ended up doing his time in Middleton jail. So that was his. I don't know how though, because he's catching these cases in Boston, Suffolk County. Right. He ended up in Middleton though. I know that.
So your PO violates you right away for that when you get the weed thing at school, or?
So, yep, I get a violation. I go do, what was it? CTU in Roslindale again. And then I get out to, I'm released to my grandmother because my parents are split up again. And I don't know where either one of them is at this point. I know they're around somewhere, but I didn't know their address or anything. So I stayed with my grandmother. She was still working at the time, so she's just like, you gotta go to school, obviously, if you wanna live here. And the new Lynn Class School was just built a few blocks away from my house. So I enrolled and started going to Class School. It's one of the better schools in the area, and this place was actually really nice gym and shit. So I didn't mind going there. And I knew a lot of the kids from elementary school, and you know what, I think I spent 1 year or half a year in junior high school, but I knew a lot of the kids that had made their way over to ninth grade. And I was there maybe 3 weeks, a month at most, and doing my work and, you know, following the program, doing my homework even, staying out of trouble, just keeping to myself. And they called me out of class one day to the principal's office for absolutely no reason. So I'm like confused. And he's just like, listen, we got your record back. And since you served time recently, I caught a case on the street for an assault and battery that I forgot about at a party. Yeah, a kid got cut. But because I did time for a violent offense, I couldn't be in public school.
Wow.
So he sent me the fucking
similar
alternative.
to my experience too. I started the year, and then that was my senior year at that point. So this time in DYS up to this point, like, what's your support system like? Are you calling, you know, your mom, your parents all the time? Are they visiting, or are you kind of like on your own for the most part?
Yeah, my mother was visiting when she could. Get you 5-minute calls, so I'm calling friends sometimes. But for the most part, my grandmother and my mother were my support system. You know, they held me down to this day.
Yeah, that's what's up. It's always the moms, I feel like. So moms and grandmoms for sure. Eventually, how do you get out of the juvenile system? Do you just
aged out?
You aged out from inside?
Nope. I was on the street.
You got out? Okay.
I was about to get locked up. They came and arrested me at my house. And I had maybe 2 months or something to be done with them. And I would stop checking in. I started, you know, experimenting with different drugs and stuff. I'm selling drugs now. So I was really avoiding them and hoping that I would just age out. They came and got me. The head of probation at the time was just like, look, man, you're old enough to make your own decisions at this point. You know, you're basically an adult, but you still got to answer to us until you're done. So what have you been doing? You've been avoiding us. You haven't been checking in at the reporting center. So like, what's going on with you? I'm just like, look, man, I'm working. He's like, oh, really? Where you working at? So I made some shit up, and my father knows that I always use him since he had his own little construction thing. So I'm like, yeah, call my father. He'll tell you I do roofing. And they said they did call him in front of me. He said, look, I'm gonna give you a chance. If your father says that you work with him on a regular basis, I'll let you go. You'll be done with us. And that's what ended up happening. They held me for a couple hours, and he let me go. But you know, it was cool that he let me go, but honestly, I needed an intervention at that point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would have never admitted it back then, but I know for sure where I was at, that probably would have saved me from a lot of headaches.
So what about, you said you were working, what happened with school? Did you
School?
graduate?
No, I dropped out of school because when they kicked me out of class school, they wanted me to go to the environmental school. And then from the environmental school was like a DYS school. It was all kids that I had known from DYS or just getting in trouble in Lynn. So I wasn't feeling it. I knew I wasn't gonna learn anything here. It was a waste of time. So I really wasn't going. So they kicked me out of there, and sent me down to the administration building. This is where you enroll for school, but they had some classrooms upstairs on the second floor, and it was the same thing as the DYS school, pretty much. Cigarette breaks. You know what I mean? I'm 16 getting cigarette breaks and shit. I'm like, this is weird, man. We're doing worksheets and shit. I'm like, again, I'm not trying to like, anyone who has learning disabilities, I get it. I'm not better or whatever, but the work was too easy.
Yeah.
So I needed a challenge.
Alternative schools too.
Wasn't feeling it. I'm done. I told my mother the same shit when she was like, "Oh, you're not going." Nana says, she's signing you up for all these things and you're not going. I'm like, this is why. You know what I mean? I'm better off figuring it out from here, because they're not doing anything for me. So.
Why did you gravitate towards hustling, and like when did that start?
I gravitate.
Because I know you said in New Hampshire you was.
Yeah.
That's what you got caught for. So obviously that it's a little before.
I know, right? When I was growing up, it was like normal for people to sell bags of weed and like the parents to do lines and shit. It was just happening. It was always around. You knew who was the drug dealers with the nice cars, the trucks, the motorcycles, boats. And we used to party at these people's houses, and I grew up with their kids. And we used to steal money from their piles of money. And back then when paper, the food stamps were still paper, I mean, they had thousands of dollars in food stamps. And, it was just, I like that shit. Their houses were always lit, exciting. There's always something going on over there. This kid's always getting new dirt bikes and shit. Like, so yeah, when I was old enough to start figuring things out for myself, I wanted to relive that, for myself this time though, because we weren't able to afford all these nice things. My parents lived a, blue collar type of life. So
what'd you do? You saved up a little money to get that first pack, or did you have older dudes kind of cuffing you?
Yeah, my boy was cuffing me some swag, brown weed back then, and I think I was getting like $80 an ounce or something like that. Right. But yeah, these were older kids that they had already graduated high school, and they kind of took me in. I met them like through skating. They were older, going to Boston and showing me, better spots to hang out and skate and shit. So they were getting money when I was still too young to do anything with it. So by the time I was, like I said, in my teens, I started asking one of my friends to just let me bring some weed back up, because everyone was asking if they all smoke weed in New Hampshire. I mean, some of the best weed I've had is from Maine and New Hampshire, but
Maine, especially right now with the legalization out there. I'll give a big salute to Maine. I feel like Maine's like right down to East Coast Cali as far as.
Yeah, you ain't wrong. And they were paying double the price. That's really what it was. I'm telling my boy, like, I don't care what it looks like. Grown adults are asking me for ounces of whatever. Yeah. And they'll pay $140, $180 for some garbage. Right. So I'm not promoting hustling or anything like that. I wouldn't sell a nickel bag today. Yeah. So just to be clear, like I'm not glorifying any of this. It's just what it was,
it's all part of the story, bro. So do you eventually make the next step up as far as hustling and start moving other things?
I started with weed, and then I realized it was real slow, and I smoke. So I'm basically smoking for free. Yep. And then I started even smoking into their profits. So now I'm like owing money and shit. So the weed wasn't working. It wasn't until I got introduced to OCs until I really started thinking like, okay, there's money in this. Yeah. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing how the potential, but I don't have any clientele or connect. And no one's taking me serious because I'm a broke little kid around all these older guys that were doing their thing. So I'm just kind of on the sidelines until I must have started working or something to save a few $100. And the kid that I told you was staying with me in New Hampshire, he's staying with me again now in Lynn. And he's like, yo, I can get this dope. It's cheaper than these OCs that everybody wants. It's the same exact shit though. I'm telling you, man, you just gotta convince these people to try it, and then they'll switch. So that was kind of what we did. We came together, we got a couple grams of dope and started selling dope.
Wow. And looking back with the whole opioid epidemic and everything that it is now, you ever start to feel guilty about maybe your part in that?
Hell yeah. especially with my brother overdosed. So like, because he was gone, like for most of his childhood, his teen years into his 20s, right? He missed out. I mean, he didn't see the transitions that happened with me and, you know, all of our friends. So it was a whole new world to him. So when I'm sitting there playing with a couple little pebbles, chopping it up, he's like, man, that's a waste of time. That shit out of here, man. That shit's trash anyway. Like, until he started seeing the people that were flocking for it, right? So when we're making money, we were able to make enough money off of this to start saving money until my partner gets arrested and I blew everything up. You know, I destroyed that whole little hustle, but
Operation.
yeah. But he seen, just like everyone else that was, you know, around back then, the potential. So we knew, like, all right, if we do it right, we could actually make something out of this. And then my brother started doing his own thing without me, and he was really successful at it right away. Kind of jealous of him, the way he just jumped in, and he didn't want no parts of it before. And I'm sitting there playing with this for the past couple years, and I haven't popped yet, and he just touched it, and man, he did well. And he was able to do that whenever he came home. He could just get on his feet. He knew he could grab a couple fingers and get on. So it was normal. We normalized it.
Yeah.
Looking back now that it's been 15, 20 years since then, man, that shit was some of the craziest times of my life. Like, I was really just hurting people every day. Yeah. Like, that was my job, is to fuck people over any way I could to get mine. You know, it was all about me getting my money at the end of the day, because I need to stay in a hotel. I'm always on the run. So, like, it's all about me right now. So drugs, selling drugs, doing drugs, especially if you're doing both, it's all about being selfish. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's all I was. I was just a selfish little scumbag. I didn't care about anybody. You know, didn't care about friends. If they were ODing, if they were dope sick, they needed to go to detox. That was none of my problem. I cared about me getting my money, and I believe karma has paid me back, you know, for that. So it's real, man. Yeah.
At any point, do you give it a try?
Hell yeah.
What's the mindset behind that? Is it like, let me see what the hype's about?
Well, I'd done perks, so I kind of knew. You know, you see it enough. I was scared of it because it was dope, but I seen that people around me, they're fine. They actually are enjoying themselves on this. So if you do it safely, maybe, you know, just do a little pap, a key bump or something. And that's how it started, yeah. Just sniffing, playing around with it, and then just like, all right, no one knows, you know what I'm saying? Like, we ain't fucking with that no more. Just pills only or something. But that shit obviously progressed into having like full-blown drug habits and losing money, making money, going to jail, coming out, starting over, and you just end up in a cycle of addiction.
When do you realize that, okay, now it's an issue?
I was sick. That was it. And I went to go help myself to a family member's money because I'm broke now, because I'm using more than I'm selling, and I wasn't selling anything at certain points. I had been so deep sitting in the house. My very first time, I didn't know what dope sick was. I've never seen anyone dope sick, but I'm sweating, but I'm cold. You know what I mean? I'm thinking I got the flu or something. And I called my boy, like, yo, we gotta get some weed or something. I feel like shit. He's like, yo, you're dope sick, bro.
Wow.
You did that shit too many days in a row, you're sick. I'm like, what? Nah, fuck, I don't say that shit. Sound like some fiend shit.
Right.
Cause it was. Yeah, we
Absolutely.
were fucking around.
I mean, at some point, do you, like, self-reflect and kind of feel like guilt or shame for doing that? Or when is that not to you?
I felt
Like, while
more
you're in it?
ashamed only about the way I was acting. Like, my character was being affected. Now it's visible, right? And that you can see it in my face that something ain't right. That part bothered me more than like me myself having to look myself in the mirror, because I was real consciously aware of what I was doing. You know, I might have been young and ignorant towards a lot of things, but I know that I sat there and really contemplated before I did anything. So I made that choice my own, even if it was peer pressure or whatever. I knew better. So like, yeah, I was never ashamed of my actions as far as, like I said, just using the drug or whatever. I don't give a fuck. I don't get embarrassed that easy. But when I started really seeing, like, when you clean up and you know that you was just running around like looking like that dude, or you know what I mean, like something that you promised you would never, no matter how worse you get, you would never look like that.
Right.
And then you kind of started looking like that. People, your brother's telling you, bro, nah, you look like one of them downtown dudes, bro, for real. That's when it really sinks in, you know what I mean? Like,
So how do you eventually get it together? Do you go to like a program, or is it jail?
Jail, mostly jail. I ended up doing like some detox stuff for like probation, you know, to try to stay out of jail. But I
But
never
being
took
on probation,
treatment
you're already
serious.
now you're catching adult cases.
I've always been on probation. This right now, me sitting here with you is my first time in my life that I'm free and clear. So that is just unbelievable in itself. But yeah, I was always on probation. So my timeline is not crazy crimes or like this dude is just off the wall catching cases. I just was catching dumbass cases wherever I'm at in my life. If I'm using drugs or something, I'm probably catching like some bullshit, stealing someone's phone or you know, robbing somebody or robbing a store or something stupid that you would never do if you was in, you know, your right mind. But yeah, it was like more or less like.
So what's your first probation experience like? I mean, how much probation do you got? You got a suspended sentence.
So
and do you eventually violate?
Let me say, like, my very first case. So I'm using drugs. I'm using drugs from to 8 as I'm aging out of DYS, 17 into 18. I think I'm like a few weeks or months into my 18th birthday, and we went to rob this kid for some weed to get some pills. We weren't buying dope, but we were already like using opiates and shit like that. So we were getting OCs back then, but ended up getting caught for it. He told on us. I caught an armed robbery, armed carjacking case for my very first adult case. Go to jail and all that. And we ended up beating it because there's too many conflicting stories and it's a drug deal gone bad and it's this and it's witnesses moved away to Florida and all that.
How long was that first time in adult jail, and where'd you go? What was
Middleton jail. Yep.
Okay.
I sat there for, I don't know, 4 to 6 months maybe.
What's that experience like? Now that's your county, right? It's different than, you know, DYS. We go to even Cambridge. We go to Boston too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Middleton, do you know people there? And talk about.
I knew some people there, but I had also people that knew me that I didn't know because my brother was there first. So and now he's gone. They had already shipped him out. So I had problems with some gang members and things like that I wasn't aware of until you know, I actually hit the unit. Also, the kid who told on me, 2 of my co-defendants are on the unit. So I'm kind of like focused on that more than anything. You know, people are telling me, oh, dude, you're going upstate. I'm robbery, I'm carjacking, bro. Even though it's your first, you're going upstate. So be ready, you're getting indicted on that. Obviously, that never happened, but so I was kind of freaking out a little bit for the first few months. Then you get used to it. Older guys looked out for me. You know, they kind of showed me the ropes, and it was just like kind of like DYS, but better because you could smoke cigarettes and shit. People you know, have access to a lot more things. So I felt like if I had to do a bit, I could do a bit. You know what I mean?
Now, Middleton, did they have the dogs at that point? Or was that?
Yeah, the dogs were there. And a lot of the older COs that are gone now were there. Like some infamous names that people know if you've been through there. And they were, you know, my brother had caught a case on 2 of the dog officers. Well, 1 dog officer and 1 sergeant. And so they had it out for me. You know what I mean? I'm getting it from, now I got inmates that I gotta look out for, and I got certain COs that don't like me because of my last name and shit. But it really wasn't anything too bad.
It never came to like.
No, it was just more or less threats, talking shit. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I got checked quite a few times by COs and shit, but
they didn't put hands on you. And
no, they didn't break me up for anything like that.
So how do you get out? Is it getting the case dismissed? Do you eventually get a bail?
Yeah, it was kind of weird, man. It was on some like spiritual, like my first real spiritual interaction, right? And where I was actually aware it was going on. I seen it, like I know that it was like some greater forces at work type stuff. Because randomly one night I'm on the unit and the dude this dude pulled me aside and was just like, I got a message from God basically to speak to you type thing. He just came back from court. He just beat an armed robbery with a gun. He robbed a bank. He's on camera, showed me the pictures and everything that, look, man, they got me dead to rights. I told God, if I beat this, let me go home to my family. I'll never do crime again. I beat it today. I was acquitted, so I'm going home. I'm waiting for my wife to bail me out for some other stuff. So, if you don't talk to God, man, I advise you. I don't know what you're here for. Don't care. That's your business, but stop praying, man. You know what I mean? Like, not just to get out, but just get closer to God. I wish I did this sooner when I was your age, right? So I'm like, yeah, man, I'll try anything at this point. He said, yeah, you got a Bible? He gives me the little jail Bible, and I run upstairs that night when they let him go. He's home. I'm broken, like, damn, this dude's going home. Yo, I can't. I want to go home so bad, man. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm already done with crime for the rest of my life. I promise. So I'm praying though, like, yo, just I'll pay for my crime. I know I did wrong, but I can't go upstate.
Right.
Because when you're a kid, you hear about Concord and Walpole. It's like the worst places that you could ever end up. You don't want to go there, especially 18. Nah.
And the amount of time is usually a lot. The stakes are higher when you go to Superior Court.
I wasn't ready for any of that, and I was scared. So I'm talking to God about it. My lawyer comes up the day before court, the night before, tells me, this is preliminary stuff. We're still waiting to find out if they're gonna send it to the grand jury, this and that. So really nothing that we can do for you tomorrow unless you come up with some bail money. And the bail was like 25 grand, I think. So I wasn't bailing out. And we get to court. He comes down in the morning while I'm in the holding tank, and he's like, listen, man, I got some good news and some bad news. Which one do you want? I'm like, whatever, man. Just, listen, the DA is willing to work with you. For the armed robbery carjacking, they're gonna reduce it to some nonsense. You'll be acquitted of the robbery part, since it was a drug deal gone bad and this and that. You just plead out to these other lesser charges that you already had. And you'll be home in, I think it was 30 or 60 days. I had to go to the farm, and I ended up going home after that. But yeah, I was acquitted of my robbery too. So that was my first experience in Middleton jail. It was really nothing.
Did you have probation again when you got out? Was that part of the plea?
That was part of the deal. So, yep, I'm on adult probation.
Were you true to your word? Did you never get in trouble again? I know how that goes.
Yeah, man, you don't make them promises, man, because I stayed just tripping over my own feet for the next 10, 15 years, until this last bid, my longest one, and I was able to figure some stuff out.
So how many times were you in and out between all that going on? You violated that probation, because sometimes too it's like like at least with me, I violate the probation with a new case, and then it's the violation with time, and then probation again, and it just keeps going.
It just keeps piling on. That's it. That's pretty much how it was. I was just so far gone at one point. It was like I knew I'm probably just gonna end up doing this forever.
Right. Did you feel like at any point you got like institutionalized or like just used to it, or kind of?
I wasn't.
This is the fate?
I knew I could never get used to it because I loved freedom too much. You know what I mean? Like, I love life, man. Like, I love being outside, summer, beach, water, cookouts. Like, that's just me. I love my family and stuff. So I knew I could never be like okay with just doing time, but it was getting less and less hard. It was getting a little easier to bid, and especially when you know more people, you are a little bit more comfortable. You start to learn how to live off the land, you know what I'm saying? Run a store or whatever, where you don't even got to call home for money. That's like, you kind of walking a thin line of, you might be institutionalized because, at some point, people stop learning how to live on the street, and they real good at jail, but they get out and they just can't. For some reason, they just can't figure it out, so they rush back for whatever reason. And I was scared that, what if I'm removed so long that I get out and I'm so far behind? I don't have any skills. I don't have any aspirations to do any specific work. Like I'm not into construction and roofing like family members. I just don't like that stuff.
Right.
So what am I gonna do? I might have to be a criminal because this is easily accessible for me. You know what I mean? I don't have to go to school and learn about anything. Just worst comes to worst, I end up getting bagged and do some time. I get out and I start over. I was starting to accept that as my possible fate, but you know, thank God, you know, I woke up and I really started trying throughout my little skid bids to, you know, get it together. And I would do a little bit better and then crash. And then like, all right, this time I'm sick of this shit now. I've been in and out, probation, violations, courts, and on the run. And I was really getting sick of the lifestyle. So I needed some stability. And before I had gotten indicted by the feds, I was in on a little 90-day assault and battery on my cousin. And I beat the case because he never showed up, but I had to sit while I was waiting to go to court. And I made a promise to myself to like, yo, whatever you do out there, I don't give a shit if I have to go hustle to get on my feet, but I'm never coming back here. And if I do, I'm not gonna be fucked up. I'm gonna be able to take care of myself, get through it, and then go home and
So when you're going in and out, are you relapsing? Is that when you say crash, is that what's going on?
Well, more or less, yeah, I'm always on something now.
Right.
Because I've already crossed that line where like it's nothing to take a handful of perks or even try some Xanax or Klonopins if you got them or whatever's going on. You know,
You feel like
I
you
was
justified that to yourself because you're not doing the, you know.
Well, that's what it leads to. You know what I mean? You start drinking or whatever, or then you wanna, I'm gonna make some money. You gotta get on your feet. You pick up a half a finger, you pick up a finger, and then, well, is it as good as he says it is? I gotta try this shit and make sure.
Right.
You know, I'm not just taking his word. You sniff it, and that shit always leads to continuous use, and just a matter of time.
You said that last bid was your longest bid?
This last one, yeah, that I
And
just finished
How much
up.
time was that?
That was 6 years.
6 years? Where'd you do that time?
So they gave me 80 months in the feds, but I had cases out of Lynn, I had cases out of Framingham, so I had to do those counties first until the feds came and picked me up. So all in all, it was like 6 and some change.
Okay, so just talk about getting arrested by the feds. How are you arrested by the FBI, or is it something where you're sitting and then they come and tell you after, oh, by the way?
Yeah, it was one of those, oh, by the ways. And so I'm on the run 2009, 2010, I got out from my state probation time, right? So I was out for like 6 months. I crashed out, started messing up again. I go do my state probation time in Middleton. I get out in like 5 or 6 months. I get a phone call. My boy's around the corner from my house, and he's just like, yo, come over here, we're chilling. I go walk over there just to say what's up, and the dude he's with is like, yo, what up, man? Yo, hey, yo, I've been looking for you, bro. And which I found kind of strange because I know him, but we're not like that with each other. So I was like a little thrown off by his energy, but whatever. Hey, yeah, what's up, bro? He's like, listen, man, I gotta go do some time. You know, I don't have anybody that I can trust. Can you hold my phone down? You know, start running these plays for me. You keep the money. I just want the re-up so that I can come home and everything I can pick back up where I left off. So I'm like, I mean, of course I got you. You know, which was solid, I guess, on his part. But I thought it was kind of weird, like almost like a setup or something.
Too good to be true.
Right? Like who does that? You know me, bro, but you don't know me like that.
Yeah, you're not my, like if it was like you're my little, like me, if that little bro, hold it, you know what I mean? Bro,
like
family,
we
you know what I mean?
grew up,
Yeah.
Like that's bro, no, it ain't like that. So I was like, yeah, whatever, man. You know how many times I've heard that anyways?
Right.
I'm gonna put you on, oh, yo, I got this new connect, bro. Like, yo, when we get out, I mean, you hear it so many times, I was just kind of like, yeah, whatever, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let me know if you need me, though. You know where to find me. So he's stringing me along for like 3-4 days. He's getting high, this and that, we're chasing each other around. And I'm just like fed up. I'm done driving around with this dude. And he's like, yo, I'm telling you tonight, I'm going to see my connect, bro. I'm gonna bring you this and that. he ends up getting bagged because he had warrants. And I bring the car back to his girl or whatever and go to court with her. He has to do some time. I end up running around. Him and her both asked me to just, stay with her, help her with running these plays, because he was worried that people were gonna rob her because she's take advantage of her. And so was she. So I'm like, man, I don't want to be in the middle of all this shit for real. Like, this is too weird.
Right, with your girl.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
she's like, oh, we're not even together, and you know how that goes. So I'm like, one thing leads to another. It's just a big mess. So through this though, he called one day, man, and I was just like, yo, bro, you know this girl's out here just smashing whatever. Like, you know how she is, right? I know, no disrespect or nothing, but you got to know that this was going on, bro. Right. And if you don't, I'm just not that type of dude. I can't sit there and just, I know what you're going through. I've been there. I keep it real with you, bro. We smashed. Your girl's a jump off, bro. Like, she's like that. He's like, what? Yo, you serious, right? Yo, just leave her alone. And I felt bad. I really did. Honestly, felt bad. I'm like, dog, you got that. It's yours. I don't want your girl or nothing like that. I'm just telling you how much she don't care.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She's like, yo, when I get out, we got to get that fair one. I'm like, yeah, it's expected, bro.
Right,
and
right.
Like, we got to say that. And we ended up getting it a few months later or whatever. But through that, his brother came by and he was buying shit. And I guess one night when he came to cop, he pulled around the corner and we were being watched. I didn't know it. We were being watched. He got caught with the dope and said, yeah, I just got it from this house over there. Damn. They got a name from him. Now I'm starting to hear from, my father had called me one day, random, one morning. He's like, hey, where are you staying? Are you staying over here in this neighborhood? And I thought it was strange because I haven't seen him in a few years. Right. So how does he know this? He's like, listen, a retired cop friend of mine told me that they're keeping an eye on you right now over at this house. Just get out of there, man. Just whatever you're doing, stop and just go. Because if I know this, then it's probably already too late.
Obviously.
So I'm like, all right, yeah, whatever, man. I was a little nervous about it, but I really wasn't taking it too serious because sometimes, my old man is off his shit. So you never really know, is he just talking some crazy coke shit right now? Or is it real? So it ended up being true. We were being watched, and this kid had already gave them my name, which I had no idea. Come to find out, his brother was already a federal informant, right? So this is a whole family of rats. I didn't even know that I'm around all this. And it all started from, fucking with this dude's girl. So I guess you could say, really, like, I got a Fed case over some pussy, right? I mean, that's really how it happened, because I would have never otherwise been around these people for him to set me up. But that's kind of how that happened. So I served this kid for them to stop watching me. That was 2010. A year later, between us, like, I'm not fucking with her, like, I'm getting locked up and we're going our separate ways, and then we're linking back up somehow, she got an apartment and I go stay at, or whatever. And he's already working with the feds, and I didn't know this. So we whip down, I'm down by like downtown. He pulls up on me. He's like, yo, when did you get out, bro? Yo, you got a number? And I don't like this dude, really. I always got a weird vibe about him. Like, we almost got into it a few times, so we were just like, not like cool or anything. So I'm like, nah, I don't even got a phone. Like, I just got out. So let me get your number, bro. I'll hit you up. He's like, yo, can you still get that fire, though, that you were getting? Yo, that shit was crazy. Dude, I'm getting, he's trying to convince me that he's the man now. And he's got some chains on and stuff, so I'm thinking, okay, maybe he sobered up and he's actually making some money. I've seen crazier things. Right. So I'm like, whatever, man. I never hit him up until I was stuck with some garbage. It was like fake work. Right. So, I mean, I could have thrown it away for it was that bad. But I'm like, you know what? Let me dump it on this clown, since I don't like him anyways. Right. And he'll never bother me again. You know what I'm saying?
2 birds with one stone.
Right, fuck it. And I thought that's what ended up happening. I served him, and he calls me back a couple days later. He wants more. I'm like, what? Yeah. You sure, bro? Like,
That should have been a red flag, right? Right.
but I'm
Look at that,
struggling.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, I need the money. All right, man, bring him again. Boom. Just those 2 plays, it ended up being like,
Damn.
and he pinched the bags that he gave to the feds, bro, because it was 14 grams. So he took a gram for himself.
That's crazy. Just talk about that experience being in like the federal courthouse. So you see like United States, you know what I mean? Versus like, is that intimidating? Like,
That
what's
shit
going
was
through your
scary.
mind now?
Oh, so now fast forward, right? I am in, I moved to first Boston. I got out from Middleton for that 90-day thing, right? They give me probation, and I have no proof yet that I've been set up, but I have a feeling. Like I feel something's off, man. Like I might have messed up by serving this kid. And I ran into his brother, the one that originally, the thing with his kid's mother, his girl, we had fought and kind of already, like, we're all right now.
Yeah,
we're not friends, but it's no big deal.
no
You know
beef,
what I'm
yeah.
saying? Like, we don't got a problem no more. So I'm like, yo, what's up with your brother though? Like, fuck the bitch. I got nothing to do with her. I don't even know where she's at. He's like, oh, me either. Fuck her. But what's up with your brother? Because I'm hearing things. I'm feeling weird about this dude. Like, I know he's your bro, but you got to do the right thing if you know something. Because he was actually like solid in terms of he wasn't a rat. So, you know, if it was my brother, I would tell you.
Right.
Fuck it. He knows the rules, man. He messed up. Well, he's like, look, if I was you, I would stay away from him. I can't say for sure, but I wouldn't mess with him if I was you, man. But if you, how long ago was that? I'm like, last year at some time, but it was only a few months ago. So, you know, they lay on you for a couple years if they want. I'm like, that was last year. But he's like, oh, you straight. They would have already came and got you, man. I'm like, hope so. So they let me out. And because I had that feeling, I knew I didn't want to be in Lynn. So I tell my PO I want to move to Boston. He's like, well, you got nowhere to go out in Boston. What are you going to do? I'm like, look, man, I'll just do a program if I have to, just to stay off the streets and stay out of Lynn. He's like, great idea. Go do it. You got till Monday to get a bed somewhere. So I did that. I went to detox, and they kicked me out because I didn't have a habit because I had just been in jail. So I'm literally like a few weeks on the street. They're like, look, man, your insurance covers this much, but you have to have a certain level of opiates in your system. You say this is what you use. It's not there, so we can't really even give you meds or anything. I'm like, I don't want meds. I need a bed or else I'm going to go to jail. And the guy felt my story. He had done time and shit. So he looked out, made a phone call, got me into the Kingston House downtown Crossing. And I'm sending people now, like, from downstairs before me, like, yo, you see that van out there? Can you go check to see if there's people in it? Because now I know, I just know they're coming.
Jeez.
But still, no one's got snatched up or anything. I just had that feeling. So from there, I finished the program, and I got probation, and I got another case, drug case open, and I'm dodging my PO because I smoked some weed. Running around with this chick that lived in across from Heat Street. So I'm hanging out in Boston with her, at her brother's house, and then I stopped trapping.
Damn.
And that was it. I'm on the run in Boston, in Brighton. Lived right behind Boston College in that little neighborhood there. And it was dope. I loved it out there. I met some real cool kids that I'm still friends with to this day. Made a lot of money out there, but you know, just trying to keep a low profile and see how long I can last so I can stack some money up before I gotta go do my Lynn probation time, right?
Yep.
Well, I get out to Framingham. I link up with this dude who I found out his brother had passed through a CO chick from Concord. So she used to be a CO chick in Concord when I was there. She seen me on the street, pulled up on me, and she's like, yo, get in. How you been? Blah, blah, blah. So we go back to her house. I'm bagging up in her kitchen. She's like, hey, did you hear what happened to your boy Fleeto? He's from Framingham. He got stabbed up in Hudson. Him and his girl got stabbed by his friend that he let stay at his house or something. He tried to rob him. And I was like, what? You got the wrong, no way. But I would have heard that. So I Googled it and it popped up. I called his brother and we ended up linking up in Framingham. And when I see him, he's like, yo, what are you doing, bro? Stay with me, though. Like, I'm out here just dolo, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need you out here, really.
Yeah.
I'm like, word, this is perfect. I'm out in the woods, no one knows me, and I'm on the run.
Oh, stop. Okay.
You good. And so I posted up out there in Framingham for a little while, and was going to see this girl one night and dropped some money off to my roommate. I got pulled over by a state trooper for a plate light. I had just bought an Acura TL. I love that little car, man. And I had it for like a month. It got smashed up, but got pulled over for the plate light, and I didn't pull over right away. I'm just kind of rolling down the street, and pulled into a parking lot. He gets me out of the car, and he's like, well, first he asked me for my driver's license and my registration, which I didn't have either because the car wasn't registered to me. So I explained to him, nope, I don't have my license. I lost it or whatever, but it's valid. Just don't have it. And this car's registered to my mother, so you can call her if you need to, whatever. So he's like, all right, let me just verify everything you're saying. I'm just gonna have you sit in my car while I, check everything out. You're not arrested. You're not under arrest. So as he's saying I'm not under arrest, he's putting my hands behind my back to walk me to his car. And I knew if I got into that back seat, I wasn't getting out. So I just kind of broke away from him. And I'm running. I'm right next to my building. So I ran around the first building to get into my back door. I got away from them, and then they just shut down the whole neighborhood and kicked the dude's door in to bring me in. Yep.
Damn. What was it about this like Fed bid that had you kind of want to like change? You know what I mean? And like kind of just where did you go? Where did you do like the majority of your time there? And what was that like?
It was split up pretty good. So pre-trial, they counted it. I was in Concord first, and then they shipped me out to Plymouth. Somebody had tipped him off saying that I was bringing some weed back from court. Man, I'm telling you, I get bad. I get it everywhere I go. Right. I don't get away with it.
You have a couple years in when you got sentenced?
Yeah, I had 2 years in. 2 years in by the time I got sentenced, caught a case during that time. So Plymouth is a rough stop for some people. I didn't like it over there too much. But from there, I went finally sentenced. Now I got to go do my probation. Oh, when they sent me to Plymouth, right, I'm thinking I'm there for Lynn probation, but I'm 52A status because I had done state time. So boom, it wasn't until like 3 months later when they called me for court. So I'm just telling my cellie like, oh shit, that's Lynn, because I don't have a set court date today, so it's got to be Lynn for my warrant. Yo, send my mail home, boom, 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 left in my shit. I'm thinking I'm going home, right? I'm going to Middleton.
Right.
I get down, he had court that morning. So I see him in book, and he's like, yo, that's what it is, bro, it's Lynn. He's like, nah, they told me U.S. District.
Damn.
And that's the feds, right? He's like, nah, bro, there's no way, dog. Check it again. So I did. I checked the list. He showed me, yep, that's you. You're going to Boston, U.S. District. Damn. So I'm bugging now. What could this be? So I'm like, all right. Once I calmed down, I kind of figured it's got to be this kid. It's the only person I've really been scared about. I hope it's him.
Right.
Because I know that he's dirty. I might actually have a shot at trial with this dude. He's worse than me. So, that's what it ended up being. Damn. Get indicted that morning and found out.
You ended up taking a plea at what? 80, you said 80 months?
80 months. Well, I was a career offender. So the court-appointed lawyer they gave me was a woman. She was actually really on point, but I didn't trust her.
Right.
So I hired my own attorney, ended up with exactly what she said I was going to get from the jump, but they wanted to give me, I think it was 180 or 250 months or something like that, just because of the guidelines.
Yeah.
We pled out, but it was like, what is that? When you let the judge use his discretion, bench or some shit. Whatever it is, we let the judge decide what he thought was fair between, whatever they wanted 9 years, and we wanted time served, 5 years. You know what I mean? But that's how it ended up playing.
So where's you go to FCI, USP?
I went to Wyatt for classification spot. They sent me to Berlin from there, New Hampshire. and that was like one of the newer spots at the time.
Yep.
And it was maybe 4 or 5 years old, I think.
Okay.
So there was a few dudes from Lynn up there. That was cool.
Okay. That's what's up.
And yeah, that was where I did the remainder of my time.
And you got out with probation?
Well, it's same as probation or parole. They call it supervised release.
Release, yep.
I got out first to the Hope House.
Mm-hmm.
They sent me the first time.
Would you have to
I was
violate and
out
go back?
6 days. Yeah, 6 days.
So you have to go back, you just wrap up the violation,
5
and then you get out,
months.
now you got no
Yep.
supervised release after that, or you still have to
You
do
reset.
that?
So yeah.
And then you complete so what do you think was like the biggest part of you actually able to complete a probation, a supervised release?
Honestly, I didn't think I was gonna. At the beginning, I had no plans on completing it. I just wanted to see how far I could make it. But
Okay.
my now wife, but she was just a girl that I was kind of helping out at the time.
Yeah.
She got pregnant. I had only been home a month or two.
Okay.
So that was like
That'll
the
do it.
beginning of me really like, all right, I can't mess up. I really can't afford to leave her, and now this baby. If
Wow.
I had no idea what to
Congrats.
expect. So
Yeah,
thank
congrats. So, I mean, why did you want to come up here today and tell your story, and what's like the main message that you wanted to convey?
I just want people to know, like, for real, there's just, I thought for so long I had things figured out, man. Like, I knew how to make money, or I knew how to hustle or whatever. Like, so I thought that with those skills alone that I would always be all right. But,
Right.
you know, now, like, I realize how ridiculous my thinking was back, you know, for most of my life. But I think it was like having my daughter really made me look at my life, and life in general is like, yo, it's really what you make it. You know what I'm saying? It sounds cliche, corny, or whatever, but it's really true, right?
There's reasons that usually things are said so many times
Right.
that it's cliche. You know what I mean? There's
And
reasons
it's
for that.
true, man. So I just encourage people. I want to encourage people to give themselves a shot. If anyone is a loser, me starting off, like by definition, I'm a 3-time loser. I'm a career criminal at 27. Yo, this is it for me, right? So I know if I can legit, between drug use and everything else that I've done, if I can make it, then anyone can, for real.
Absolutely.
Because I was the worst type of criminal. I sucked at being a criminal,
Right.
and I didn't care at one point.
Right.
So like there was really no end in sight as far as like going in and out. I haven't been in jail since this last thing, and that's really it, yo. Just give yourself a chance. There's so much you can do out here.
Absolutely.
You can make money any way you want.
Yeah.
You just got to take the time to learn it. YouTube, I've learned how to sell real estate, buy real estate from YouTube. I've learned how to trade stocks from YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have a job, I don't have a boss today because of YouTube.
Right. You
So-
gotta be open-minded. That's a big thing. A lot of people just kind of stuck with the mentality they grew up with and everything like that. So, once again, bro, I appreciate you coming through, telling your story, and I feel like these stories definitely help. So before I let you go, if there was like anything else you wanted to touch on or some closing words, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, thank you, man, for bringing me up here. I love doing these interviews because it helps me, right? I got to talk about this stuff where these aren't normal conversations you have with everyday people, right? Especially people that can't relate. So for that reason alone, it's good to just be able to share your experiences with other people who understand where you're coming from, right? That, and just the fact of putting yourself out there, right? It's uncomfortable. I'm still not. I've been on camera a few times now. I still get nervous, just like I told you at the beginning, you know. But it gets a little bit easier each time. And now I'm at the point where I'm trying to make my own videos. So like, it really has helped in so many ways. My social anxiety. You know what I'm saying? Like I really have OCD and all these things that I don't take meds for it or anything, but I know that it's there because my palms get sweaty and I get some. I was thinking about not coming because as I got closer and I'm getting more anxious, I'm like, damn, should I just flake on this dude right now?
Well, I appreciate you for coming through. So make sure you guys go subscribe to Code of Silence.
Yes, sir.
With a K. This is the Bounce Back podcast. The podcast. Guys, it is what it is. Remember, what's next is what you make it. On that note, we out of here. Thanks again, bro.
got 'em all mad when they see you down, there's no